This is the Dork Side News Network, and this just in.
That's what they do.
We'll just wait in the shadows and record. Okay, go.
We just started recording, so I'm sure the neighbors are like, okay, great. Now bust out the
leaf blower again, like last week.
Yeah.
Are we recording on the podcast too? Can they hear us?
Oh, yeah, it's live.
Oh, okay.
This is all going up.
That's good. We gotta love these cold open. That was a really good cold open that time. Where was that? Is it a hot open? Is it a warm open?
It's a hot mic, cold open. I don't know. Maybe
it's lukewarm at this point.
The lukewarm open. Okay. Well, hey guys, this is the Dork Side News, and if you're not familiar with us, we do news, and I'm James.
I'm Richard,
and we have a special guest. We're doing our first collab video today. We have Dave from Back to the Classics. What's yours about?
So we talk about movies from 20 years ago. We literally take a list of movies and put out a schedule like a year in advance, and talk about movies that we try to hit it on the day that was actually released. Sometimes we kind of have to play around with the schedule of just saying, okay, well, 2 really good movies released, and then Clueless released on this day instead. Yeah. So we're not gonna. I'm not, unless I'm bringing in a female, I'm not going to talk about Clueless.
Well, on that note, if you guys are familiar with our format, we do news first, and then we just talk after the news. And our talk after the news this time is our top 5 '90s movies, which I felt was appropriate to go with your channel. And I didn't tell Rich or Dave this yet, but I also have the top 5 from Rotten Tomatoes, and we're going to see how many of our movies made the Rotten Tomatoes top 5 list.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm excited.
I don't think any of mine did. I'm already looking. I'm like, I failed at this game. It was my own game.
So I got to ask about the criteria on that. Are we talking what critics scored, or are we talking overall box office? Are we talking about
we're going with
score?
With the article I found that said top 140 movies.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know what criteria they used, but I mean, I feel like the top 5 that they picked are very good top 5s. So
okay, we'll see.
We'll start with our news. It's Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and Black Widow's trailer dropped. And
kind of a surprise, right? There was no reason for it.
There's no reason. It didn't happen during a football game.
No.
It didn't happen during, really anything. It just came out. I think it came out last night, actually, and it was like 8 p.m. And I just saw it. I was like, this is a weird time to drop, but it's out.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of stuff in it. The one thing I noticed, I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but I was proud that I noticed it. I can't even say the opening Marvel logo because it's not even in the opening. It's 2 minutes into the trailer or however long it is. But the Marvel logo is actually Black Widow's logo that they just kind of superimposed on it.
Well, that's deep.
Yeah. And that was pretty cool.
Instead of the page flip or...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was like the page flip and then it melded it into the logo. Marvel does their thing.
Yeah.
You pointed out that I think we saw Taskmaster.
Yeah, very briefly. It was for 2 seconds. And had the traditional bow and arrow, which Taskmaster is known for, but I'm curious to see what they're actually going to do with him, because Taskmaster has a very unfriendly movie way of it's kind of tough to kind of show his powers. Like, you would just say, oh, he fights just as good as Black Widow. Okay, no, I need to see Spider-Man, web sling coming out and stuff like that, because he literally, as soon as he sees your power, he can copy it.
And we've had an argument about this one too. I think it was a long time ago when we were talking about Taskmaster being first announced. So Taskmaster can fight any which way he sees you fight. He doesn't get your superpower though. So he's not as strong as the Hulk, but if the Hulk were to throw cars at you, if he can find a way, he can't throw cars.
So, I mean, in the comics, Taskmaster is classified as a mastermind. Mm-hmm. He is a tough opponent for any street class superhero.
Yep.
He doesn't compete with the X-Men, right? He might be able to fight Wolverine or somebody who's purely physical, but he doesn't have enhanced reflexes. He's just what they call peak human. Unless, just like where Captain America used to be peak human.
And now he's
a superhero. I mean,
he's not peak human anymore. No, he's legitimately
he can rip doors off cars and stuff. I mean, he's ridiculous. So if Taskmaster is another person who's been gifted with the superhero serum, then all bets are off now.
Yeah.
Now he can probably compete with the big boys.
Yeah.
Total appropriate villain for Black Widow though.
Yeah, it is because I mean,
skill.
Yeah, Black Widow is supposed to be a get out of any situation that she gets herself stuck in, but now you have to fight against anybody who could, or the person who could fight literally any which way he can think of.
I mean, is it really fair? I mean, this is Black Widow. She can wield Mjolnir.
I mean, I guess that's...
But she doesn't have Mjolnir. She just can.
Right. She can.
But maybe she does. Remember, Mjolnir went back in time. I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole time travel episode.
Oh, boy.
And then the last thing that I think everybody noticed was Red Guardian was shown finally. And I'm almost positive that it was not intentional. It was something they always thought that they were going to do. But the Red Guardian is Russian. And it just so happens to be David Harbour.
Yeah.
Who was in Stranger Things, and we all know that he didn't like the Russians, so now he is one.
And probably he was captured by the Russians.
Yeah, and at the end of Stranger Things,
Yeah.
he was just referred to as, maybe it was him, as the American, so now it's like flipped. It's weird. But it's awesome. If you guys don't know Red Guardian is it the Russian or the European version of Captain America? It's their version of our Captain America. But
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a little overweight. He's kind of
Super overweight.
I mean, you got to mention the timing, right? This is a weird thing.
Yeah,
Because
we still don't even know it for sure.
We don't know for sure, but it sure looks like it's set in the past, meaning after Civil War.
Yeah.
But then it's exploring her past, so it's going to have all kinds of flashbacks to probably the 80s or something when she was training to be a KGB super agent.
Yep.
So here's this thing that has no relevance on the current storyline, assuming the current storyline is post Endgame.
Yeah.
And then it's going to randomly, continually flash further back. She's aged 12 years since she first was in Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 1. What was she in? She was on Iron Man 2, right?
Iron Man 2, right?
Yeah. So she's aged 12, 14 years, something like that. And then it's going to be constantly flashing back. I'm sure it's going to be using Disney's patented
Reverse aging.
because they have that technology. They got to use it all the time. I don't know.
We're like a few years off. It's not a big deal.
I bet this is one of the least successful of these standalone Marvel movies.
So here's my
Personally,
question.
that's
Do you
call.
think it's going to do better than Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel actually did pretty well from a box office perspective. Again, he brought up like, how do you rate something?
Yeah.
To me, it's purely box office. I don't care about fans. I don't care about critics. Box office is the end result of, did the studio think they did a good job? And I think it will. I think it will not do as well as.
Yeah, I don't think it'll do as well as Captain Marvel, but I'm also.
I mean, I think it might be a good movie or even a better movie. It seems like it's going to have like Thor Ragnarok funniness, because Thor Ragnarok was a raging success, and now everything has to have humor. But I don't know. I just think that people don't like prequels. People don't like feeling like they're wasting their time watching something that has no, like, you always know she's going to survive, but you really know she's going to survive because she is not dead yet, but she is dead. So you're watching a dead character.
It's like, have you seen the movie Next?
No.
With
maybe.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
So I like that movie. I loved that movie all the way up until the last 5 minutes. And the last 5 minutes is when you find out that the entire movie you were watching actually never happened.
And nobody likes that.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
It was like, this is what could happen.
Isn't it such a weird thing? Like, the movies aren't real, guys. I mean, like, they haven't happened. None of them happened.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it really ticks us off if the last few minutes you find out it was all a dream.
They've done TV shows like that. The Bob
Roseanne
Newhart show, exactly. That's how exactly ends. The alternate ending for Malcolm in the Middle. That's exactly how it ends.
Nobody likes it.
No, nobody likes it.
You should have learned, guys. All right, this next one is interesting. A Star Wars game show is coming to Disney Plus, and it's going to be called the Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge.
And who's the host?
I forgot what it is. I think it's Amit. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's the voice of Jar Jar Binks.
That's what people were asking for, right?
Yeah. More Jar Jar Binks in a Star Wars show.
I really did not know this. This is so fascinating to me now.
So what's cool about it is it's supposed to be a kids show. I mean, obviously it's on Disney Plus, but it's targeted towards kids.
It's a game show for kids.
It's a game show for kids. And they're going to go on 3 different planets or areas or scenarios where they're taking on Jedi tasks that you would be doing as a Padawan to become a Jedi. And it just seemed really cool.
The whole concept is interesting. I'm going to try to watch it. But
the only thing I don't like about it, Rich, you're going to laugh at me. The only thing I don't like about it is where the damn colon is in the fucking title. So I've brought this up before. Star Wars Jedi : Fallen Order is the game. This show is called Star Wars : Jedi Temple Challenge. Can we figure out where it goes here? Just pick somewhere and stick with it. No, but it really does look awesome. There wasn't really much to look at yet.
I don't think it's for us, right?
I don't know if it is. Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks is very well liked by kids, and so they choose a host that's going to be well liked by kids. Probably it's for kids. I would kind of like to have at least some moment where they get slimed, some sort, because the only other kid game show I can think of is
Double Dare.
Yeah.
What's funnier is if we go with the theory that everybody's talking about, where Jar Jar is a Sith Lord, and now he's actually training Sith and not Jedi.
That would be what we all want.
Yes.
Right?
If he ever turns out to be Darth what? They have a name for him.
I forgot what it was.
But
yeah.
If he ever turns out to be a Sith, I will change all my opinions about the prequels.
I know we try and usually keep the show PG-13 or every now and then, but I did see a meme today that was great, and it was Star Wars is PG-13, which means they're allowed one F-bomb. Where do you drop it? Now, we've talked about playing this game before too, but this one was great. It was right when Anakin breaks in to the Jedi Temple to kill all the Padawan, the young Padawan kids, and it's just that young kid standing there. He's like, "Fuck!" I was like, "That is the perfect place for it."
I don't know. I mean, at that point, I would probably put it in like after they tell Obi-Wan that Anakin just killed all the kids. That's where I would put it, right there.
The fucking chosen one.
You have to make it so you can use the F-bomb once, but you don't give it to Samuel L. Jackson, just to see if it pisses him off at all. All right, so after the game show, we have... Okay, this is interesting. So apparently, a molotov cocktail resembles only the Hong Kong protest.
It reminds them of something they'd rather the whole world didn't notice.
Yeah.
Right, the Hong Kong protest.
The Hong Kong protest. So what's going on is DC removed a promo image for the comic that's coming out, The Dark Knight Returns: The Golden Child, which if you click on the link, we have it. Oh, crap, we didn't put a secret link in here.
Just pretend that you don't know where that link is going.
Yep.
But in reality...
a secret link.
Yeah.
The link takes you to the actual picture of... It looks like... It's
Batwoman.
Batwoman holding a Molotov.
Is it Batwoman or Batwoman's kid? I think it's Batwoman's kid, but whatever.
Is throwing a Molotov. And everybody was like, that's Hong Kong right there. And while the artist may have targeted that, because you said the artist was Brazilian, right?
He's Brazilian, and I just noticed a lot of Brazilian artists are very political in their artwork, and they slip these things in. And by all means, good, because I'm pro freedom, democracy, stuff like that.
But on the flip side, it's a Molotov cocktail. You can't say that this one thing that has been used for years represents one entire movement.
Face masks, you can't use it if you want to make money off the Chinese. Molotov cocktails, you can't use it if you want to make money off the Chinese. Yep. So DC retracted this image from their promos. Which made a counter protest from non-Chinese saying, "Hey, stop bowing to the Chinese because you just want their money." And then DC responded by saying, "Hey, we're not using that promo image, but that image still is in the comic. They're not bowing to Chinese pressure, supposedly." And so if you buy the comic, you will see Batwoman with a Molotov cocktail, which again has nothing to do with the Hong Kong protest, as far as we know.
Yeah. I mean, if you can show Batwiener, you can show a Molotov cocktail, right?
That's in DC Black.
Wait, is this a Black Label one? Or
it's not.
Okay.
No. This is the Golden Child. If you guys aren't aware of what the Golden Child is, the Golden Child is the child of Superman and Wonder Woman. And so you have a Kryptonian super being combined with a goddess. And so at the age of 2 years old, the super child has the power to be able to destroy the planet. They say the wisdom of the Kryptonians. He can already speak and has full conversations.
The intelligence of an average human being.
Well, far beyond it. This is they're calling it the Golden Child, so obviously they're referring to like the Eddie Murphy Golden Child,
which is the better Golden Child. But
yeah, that's probably true. It looks really interesting. I kind of want to read it, but also at the same time, I don't know. Like I don't view Kryptonians as particularly wise. I usually see the comics where they're emotional and they're just out of control. And they're egotistical, and wisdom is not something I attribute to the Kryptonians in any comic since like 1987. I just feel like they're not.
I feel like that's why I harmonized, or that's what I'm trying to think of, so well with Earth One. Superman is Earth One. In the beginning of that comic, it shows him trying to find a job. So he's going from place to place, and he actually goes into a research lab and. He's like, he just writes the equation on the board that they've been trying to solve for 20 years to prove that he's actually smarter than basically all of us. And that's really one of the only times I can think of in recent comic book history where Superman is actually like, hey, I'm actually smart. I'm not dumb.
Well, and I absolutely think Kryptonians are smart. I just don't think wisdom has anything to do with intelligence automatically.
I mean, there are two different stats on D&D. So.
That's exactly. Everything I know about life, I learned from D&D, probably. So,
So, Molotov Cocktail is not a Hong Kong protest. And, Disney Plus has given us a list of content that's coming in just December.
Yeah. Now, this was actually pretty cool. And I asked you if Netflix does the same thing.
Netflix has never done it.
This was a video clip that I think is going to come out every month, and it's going to say all the different things that are coming in Disney Plus that month. And I was like, you know what? I often wonder so much stuff comes out to Netflix so fast that most of the time I just miss it.
Yeah.
If I didn't watch it I only see so many things on my like recommended for you. And I find out other stuff was on, and I don't know about it until you talk about it or something. So, I think it would be cool.
They went deep on this one too. They were like, Mandalorian's episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be. We know that. We know the Mandalorian is continuing. I don't think you needed to put. I guess.
Well, but you know the episodes.
Yeah.
Because just like the Watchmen, I went to watch the Watchmen, and it wasn't there.
Oh.
Because they skipped an episode for Thanksgiving week. Oh. I don't know why.
Well, on that note, The Mandalorian's episode 8 was scheduled to drop. I believe it was on the 27th. As of that Twitter post is when it said. But I also am hearing rumors that it's going to drop right before the Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Wow. I'm sorry. I watched that one last night. So The Rise of Skywalker before that one comes out. But if I remember correctly, Rise of Skywalker comes on the 20th?
20th, yes.
So, if it's scheduled to come out on the 27th, they can't push it. They said that the rumor I saw was that they're going to push that a day ahead so it comes out. But from the 27th to the 20th, that would be a week ahead. However, I think, and now I remember, the episode that's being pushed isn't episode 8, it's episode 7. It's being pushed one day ahead because there is a plot line that coincides with Rise of Skywalker, and they wanted it to out before Skywalker came out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's awesome.
So one thing we saw was, I'm curious if anybody knows, but it showed a female Twi'lek, and there's a good portion of the fan base who loves female Twi'leks, loves the idea of them anyways. And they're very popular in the cartoons and the comic books and the toys and the books, but yet there has never been a female Twi'lek in live action until this point. And
I argued with Rich about this because there was a Twi'lek in Jabba's palace, but lo and behold, I was wrong because that was a male Twi'lek. Yeah.
And according to the original lore, which I don't know if it's correct anymore, that Twi'lek had its teeth filed to fangs, which doesn't sound very appealing for a female Twi'lek person to like go after. But then in the cartoons, she has the female Twi'leks there have normal teeth, and supposedly in the lore, they file their teeth to be more more threatening or something like that.
Ahsoka was a Twi'lek, right?
Yeah.
So did she? I don't remember if she
She has normal
file-
teeth. She doesn't have fangs. But this one, we only get a sliver, like a smidgen of a second, and it was on Twitch, so we couldn't like really pause it and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, on Twitter. But I think she has fangs too. So I don't know if in the new lore now Twi'leks are just born with fangs. I don't know.
I mean, while we're talking about it, I don't want to make this a Star Wars podcast, but because we're only 2 weeks away from Star Wars, there's going to be a lot of Star Wars talk, especially with it not just being, the final episode, but it's the end of the Skywalker saga. So there's going to be news. But I thought this was really interesting. Have you watched Star Wars Rebels?
I've only seen little bits and pieces.
I started watching Clone Wars, the animated series. I have yet to get to Rebels. I don't think I'll finish either of those before Star Wars comes out, because there's 8 seasons of Clone Wars, and I don't even know how many of Rebels.
And lots of episodes per season because it's a cartoon,
But I did find something interesting. So in Star Wars Rebels, I believe it's season 4, episode 1, around there. The main character, who I don't even know who it is, but the main character is going through the world beyond worlds, I think is what they called it. And this is like the Jedi version of time travel. So it's like he can go through this portal.
Yeah.
He's now the world beyond worlds, or whatever it was called. And in this version, he sees where Ahsoka gets cut down by Darth Vader.
Yep.
And he pulls her out. So he pulls her out of that time.
Yep.
And saves Ahsoka, and then it continues from there. So people were like, if that can happen in Rebels, that can happen in Rise of Skywalker. Maybe that's why we see an evil Rey happening, or
that's how the Emperor gets resurrected.
Yep. That too.
Because I mean, personally, I always like the original book series where they, where the reason why the Emperor Palpatine originally pushed for the clones was so that ultimately he could create a clone of himself and live forever. And that was supposed, instead of ghosts like the Jedi have, the Sith were supposed to do soul transfers, so they could transfer to another body. But in his case, if he wanted the same body, he could transfer to a clone of himself, and it's even better than just possessing people.
Yep.
So I personally really like that storyline. Of course, that's not canon anymore because Disney threw it all away so that they could pick and choose whichever pieces they want. And so we know Mara Jade is going to be picked into the canon universe, or she might already be.
Yeah.
But how does Palpatine come back?
Who knows?
Could be the clone, could be the time travel. It's probably more likely to be the time travel because that's at least from the cartoons, which are now considered canon, I think.
There's a really funny joke going around too from Kathleen Kennedy, who's running the show over for Star Wars. And she was like, we wanted to work really hard on, episode 8, but there just wasn't enough source material. And everybody's like, what? There's the entire expanded universe. But we can't use that. Sorry. But yeah, so that's stuff that was coming out. We saw Marvel Rising is also there's a couple of Marvel Rising cartoons coming. There was one in particular, I don't even remember what it was now all of a sudden, but it was one in particular that I was like, oh, I want to see that. I think it was Spider-Man.
Marvel Rising Spider-Man, maybe. Marvel Rising is like Squirrel Girl and Spider-Gwen and all those characters.
Yeah. Thor Ragnarok is also coming. I know we've all seen it, but that's arguably one of the best standalone superhero.
Definitely funniest. I still like Doctor Strange.
I wonder how you're gonna feel with the horror version.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I don't know if they're going full horror, are they gonna lose some of the comedy that Doctor Strange had in there, or are they gonna keep that
soft comedy?
I hope so.
But it'll be dry. I hope it's just dry and sarcastic. Yeah.
Oh man, there was.
I'd just like to see if they can pull off House of M and just fully be like, okay, yeah, we're getting rid of like everybody out of your contracts, no problem whatsoever. It's like, wait, what? You're doing what?
Holy crap!
Do you think? I mean, I really feel like WandaVision is going to be basically kind of the aftermath of House of M.
Oh, I think so. Also,
it's supposed to be a sitcom too.
Which is weird.
Because House of M, I mean, if I remember the comic book correctly, she creates like her whole universe into her own way, and then obviously it was Quicksilver and Magneto who was protecting her before they basically nearly failed, and then she altered reality.
What was really interesting about it, I mean, by all means, get a Comixology like subscription.
Yeah.
If you can't buy it, get a Comixology subscription for $10. You can read the whole thing.
And there's a lot.
But I mean, support your comic book store if you can, but whatever. It's amazing. It's a super fun storyline. What I really like is you think the whole time that Magneto has manipulated Wanda because she's like crazy at this point. You think he's manipulated her to give him everything he wants because he's like ruler of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, he's not the one. And he's actually as upset as anybody else.
I will try and not spoil it too much, but I will just leave it at this. The key is Wolverine.
The key is always Wolverine.
Yeah, it is.
Since the 90s.
I mean, they showed that clearly in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah. Oh, when you were saying dry humor too, it just reminded me. The React channel did a try the food from Marvel films.
Okay.
And one of them was the Ben and Jerry's ice cream. So like Ben and Jerry's didn't make the two Marvel flavors that they talked about in Doctor Strange, so we made them. But they showed the clip, and that's the dry humor. When Stark was like Stark raving hazelnuts, he's like, "Yeah, it was pretty good."
So good.
All right, so Resident Evil 2 is very close. It was very close to being Game of the Year this year until Modern Warfare blew it out of the water. I don't even want to talk about it.
Which is stupid.
Yeah. But if you liked Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 might have accidentally been leaked. The Resident Evil 3 remake, by the way. There's a picture up, and I'm almost positive, and I'm hoping that I'm right, that you'll see this on the Game Awards next Thursday when they go up, that they're going to have a trailer for it.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes.
If it's what I think it is, I mean, they could literally carbon copy that game except make the final boss a little bit tougher, and then you're good.
Yep.
I'm happy with it.
I mean, they basically did that with Resident Evil 2, except for they just added in Mr. X.
Yeah.
And now Mr. X has his own game in Project Resistance, which is, I think, also... So we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
I think Resident Evil 3 and Project Resistance might come out around the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a good move. It might be, because you might get one group of people that like this one and not this one. So
Yeah, I mean, my idea there was just that I think people who loved Left 4 Dead are so hungry for another co-op versus...
asymmetrical. You don't like it. You don't like it when I say asymmetrical.
No, it's an asymmetrical multiplayer co-op
Survival.
experience.
Right.
4 versus 1 kind of situation. And I think those people aren't necessarily Resident Evil players. That's just my thought. I just think that those people will
That's a
buy
completely
this
different game. That's why.
Yeah. And so I don't think it's people that are like, well, I can only afford one game this month. I have to choose. I think it's a lot of people who are like, well, I'll buy, whatever games are in my genre that I like, and I don't like both of those. I'm gonna buy the one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you gonna buy both? You gonna buy one?
It would probably just be the remake, to be honest.
See, there you go.
I really enjoyed RE2 quite a bit.
That's totally fair. I'm very time short these days, so I'm much more likely to buy something that will give me very short bursts of fun that I don't have to feel bad like
Not playing for 3 months and then turning it back on.
Yeah, exactly.
The picture that was shown too, the Nemesis was right on the cover. So obviously the entire game revolves around Nemesis. So if he's not in there, that'd be really confusing.
I mean, wasn't RE3 literally titled Resident Evil 3
Nemesis?
Mm-hmm.
But it is cool that the Nemesis is like the cover art that they had for it. And they actually, I think they showed a picture of Jill Valentine that I didn't want to put it in the notes because I don't know if it was her or not. People are still trying to guess whether or not, first, if that was Jill Valentine, second, was that even from our Resident Evil? So there's pictures that might be out if you guys want to go look. But yeah, I'm almost positive you'll see it at the Game Awards next Thursday, 12/12/19.
I got a question. Is there any other real remake of that genre? Because I know everybody's going to say FF7.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I was ready for it. I was ready too.
Of that genre that specifically, I guess, with Resident Evil, okay, we're going to get 2 and 3, which is fine. But is there really any others that we kind of need a remake? Which one would you pick?
Silent Hill.
Okay, well, sure. I'll give you Silent Hill. But I guess in the Resident Evil series. How about
in the Resident Evil series? Well, I also think 4. I definitely think 4.
But I feel like 4. I know it did just come out because obviously 7's out with Biohazard. Yeah. But I feel like 4 is almost too recent for me.
Yeah. I've heard people ask that one too, and they're like, Code Veronica, just to throw it off. I'm like, please don't do that one. That one's just...
Give me Time Crisis with Resident Evil. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
No,
I love Time Crisis. I'm with it.
Time Splitters. How about
Reload.
that?
Reload.
Can I get a VR version?
Did they announce something with Time Splitters?
There's rumors Time Splitters 3 is in the works, but
now that I'd be down for.
There's just as many rumors that Half-Life 3 is still coming. So
I mean, that's what Alex is supposed to be.
So actually, listening to a few of the podcasts, I actually am on the Half-Life Alex side now. So no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to release the Half-Life 3 that everybody wants. Everybody has hyped it up so much that there's literally nothing that anybody could do.
So you're saying like almost like Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way that it was going to ever be what people wanted.
Yep. And then, so Half-Life has always also been on the cusp of technology. They've always been, like, they were the first ones that perfected physics in that game.
Yeah.
And, Half-Life 2 also perfected some other stuff in mechanics. So Half-Life Alex is going to be the one that takes VR over to the edge. I think that's going to be the one that pushes it where everybody's like, holy shit, this is actually a thing that is amazing now. It's not just Beat Saber and some job simulator game on there. We can actually play.
I don't ever want to hear you speak badly about Beat Saber.
I'm not speaking bad about Beat Saber.
How dare you, sir?
I'm saying that the only reason to get a VR is because of Beat Saber.
No, Biohazard. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is amazing.
And Arizona Sunshine. Amazing.
Oh yeah,
Skyrim VR is.
What the hell's going on, James?
You can play Skyrim in your fridge now, so we don't need it in VR.
Half-Life. What are they?
Half-Life Alex.
Alex. I bet it will be better than those games because they will bring all those things to VR.
Yep.
And people who love Half-Life, who most people weren't even alive anymore when the last Half-Life game was out. I don't know. And these youngsters, they don't even know what we're talking about, but they're excited because
what is Half-Life?
Yeah. I remember my dad talked about that game.
You know that store where you buy all the games on play on PC? Yeah, that was where Half-Life
Is that
came
where you
from.
had a GameCube inside of McDonald's?
All right. Happy birthday, PlayStation. This was a big one. PlayStation as of yesterday, turned 25 years old. And they're celebrating on the PlayStation blog. I don't know how, but on the PlayStation blog itself, it says, come check us out every day and see how we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of PlayStation. I'm guessing they're just going to be articles on PlayStation blog saying, yay.
25 is that magical time where you start maturing a little bit. You party a little bit less often.
You can rent a car now, and
you can. Can you 25?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a long time.
Also, I think they announced yesterday too that PlayStation is now the world's best-selling home console brand as well, selling well over 100 million units now.
Yeah, I think it got the world record, right?
Yep. Guinness handed them the world record yesterday. So, I mean, just because I'm a Sony fanboy doesn't mean I can't say, I told you so. But yeah, PlayStation's birthday, awesome. What that means for sales and free video games and PlayStation Plus, who knows?
Nothing.
It probably means nothing because they're stingy. But
when you're losing money like Sony, like it's hard to just give stuff out.
I was
remember when we made the PlayStation Classic? Yeah, remember how much fun you had with that?
Remember when we fucked it up? I was going to say that they're stingy, but I think it was 2 months ago when they brought out the PlayStation Now games and everybody was pissed off. And so they changed them. And they were like, okay, they're better games now. They're not soccer and some other game. So, okay, they're not that stingy. They're giving out some good games.
Well, yeah, now they have, but like for a long time, it was just crap.
Yeah,
you know?
actually,
and now, at least with PlayStation Now, it's justifiable at $60 a year.
Yep.
Because you could say, you know what? I don't really know if I want to commit to this game, but I'll play it for a couple weeks and then that's that.
So also, because you reminded me of this funny story, Google Stadia's out.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody
exactly.
cares.
Nobody even knew it came out.
It's the same with Google Glass.
Yep.
Nobody cares.
But the unfortunate part is Google has the money to be like, I mean, we'll keep pushing it until people buy it.
So they're saying, we're committed. We're going to keep doing this. You don't need to worry. Yeah. Half the things Google does, they cancel. Just like Microsoft, you know, when you have 30, 40,000 employees, you're regularly going to churn ideas and you're going to say that idea wasn't good.
Yep.
I'm not faulting them for canceling things, but I wish they wouldn't say we're never going to cancel it, because that's what they said about Google Plus. Is that what? Yeah. So the social media thing, they canceled it. It's gone.
Yep.
And it's left a huge hole because people kept committing to it, and now there's all these URLs pointed to their Google Plus things. They don't do anything.
Yep. They're all broken.
I like the idea of like the way that you described that. It reminded me of the movie Megamind, where at the beginning where he kidnaps a girl and he's all like, "Look what this can do," you know. I just imagine that's Google's like face over here, and like nobody's impressed with anything. And then finally, like a little spider thing crawls out, and they're like, "Oh, that's new. Yes, our plan all along."
So the two biggest issues I see with this whole thing, and
Stadia.
With Stadia.
Okay.
And I don't know why it wasn't even thought about. Maybe it was thought about and they just didn't care.
Yeah.
First, you have to purchase the service.
Yeah.
To then purchase the game.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
They love it.
Yep. And then you can only stream the game. You cannot download the game.
Why would you need to download it?
So if you don't have internet for some reason or something happens, you can still continue to play your game.
But internet is everywhere. You must have internet.
When I don't have internet, I just cry in the corner.
I turn on my
what was life before the internet?
I turn on my
What
4G
did people
hotspot. Now I have internet again. But yeah, I mean, that was a big problem because it's, I don't know.
No, it is a legit problem when there's a thunderstorm and you're like, well, internet's out. What am I going to do? I guess I'll go play some video games because I can't browse Facebook anymore.
Yep.
Oh, wait, no.
I can't even play my video games.
Yeah.
I guess I'll pull out my Game Boy. I don't.
But to be fair, I think that you can have a blend. You don't need to, like, if you can play the most cutting edge games at 4K, 60 frames per second, and you don't have to ever buy a new upgraded machine, then maybe it's worth it. I'm not going to just totally discount it. I just think that for me, I'm always going to have a machine that's powerful enough to play games at the top, because for me, I have to be able to edit films and videos and stuff. So, I mean,
you're just going to have it. But see, I feel like the easy fix for Stadia right now is, first of all, get rid of the subscription fee, because that's just dumb. If you're already having to buy the games, you don't need the subscription fee. And second, give us the option to stream or download. That's easy. Just give us that option and you're done.
What sort of exclusive content does Stadia even have? Like
None.
In terms of games? Because I know like the big thing was like Destiny 2. And I'm like, that is one of the most frustrating games to ever come out. Why would that be your launch?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't have any, they might have one, I think there was rumors about it, but like one Stadia only game, but I don't even know what it is. They've never talked about it. There's no reason that you can't get any other console.
It's just going to be a calculator,
yeah.
But they're going to call it something else. But all it does is compute.
Google Calc.
Yeah,
Calc by Google.
So yeah, happy birthday, PlayStation. Okay, this one is the one I was warning you about.
All right, James. For this one, I read the first line and I was like, wait, did Lionshead Studios make a new Fable game? I feel so crushed. And I was like, even if it's a musical, I'll take it. I'll take anything in the Fable universe. I love the Fable game series so much. And then I read the second line and I was like, I'm so sad. I am so sad, James.
So the first line was, "For the love of the glove, an unauthorized musical fable about the life of..."
Well, it's not about for me, it says "For the love of a glove, an unauthorized musical fable."
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wait.
Sizing is different. It's actually "For the love of a glove, an unauthorized musical fable about the life of Michael Jackson, as told by his glove."
Worst title ever.
That is the title of this movie that they're making.
It's very explicit, though. You have to give them props for like one of the most explicit movie titles ever. You know what this movie's about.
You will never guess. And actually, it does get crazier.
Oh, okay.
So it's an unauthorized musical about the life of the pop star, Michael Jackson, as told from the perspective of his glove, who's a blood-sucking alien, and it's being produced by Johnny Depp.
Lay off the alcohol. Get some
We've
help.
had some whoppers on the show before, and I keep saying that's the craziest thing that I'll read all year, but that is the craziest thing I'll read all year.
He needs some help.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. So, but the most interesting thing was when they bought it, they said that the person that was going to direct it didn't want to give Michael Jackson his fame because of all the allegations and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was like, "I'll do this, but I'm going to do it this way."
And so what are you saying is the most interesting thing?
Well,
the title.
There's a lot to unpack. Like, I think the most interesting word in there is love. Like, why? What am I exactly going to see here?
If you're talking about a love glove, that's something different there.
Well, I mean, this glove is a blood-sucking alien, but it loves...
Again, love is the most interesting word there.
Yeah, this was they bought Johnny Depp's company. I forgot what the production company was called. It's in the article, but they bought the rights to make this movie, and then the director was like, "I'm not going to make a movie about Michael Jackson that is honoring him because I don't want to honor him." He's like, "Instead, if you want me to do a movie, I'll do this." And I guess that's how we got there. I don't even know.
I can't wait to see this guy get sued. But I'm also interested to see what happens.
By the estate of Michael Jackson?
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
I wonder if any of the other Jacksons are like, "No, that's pretty much right."
What are they going to do? They're going to be like, okay, this is libel. His glove was not an alien.
It's like, the family of Adolf Hitler suing Jojo Rabbit. Like,
Hitler was not an imaginary friend in Boy Scout camp.
exactly.
That movie's super underrated, by the way.
I know. I love Jojo Rabbit. It was so good. It was really sad, too.
It was. It kind of made you sympathize.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But then you come back to reality.
I don't know if I did say last week, but I did watch Frozen 2.
How'd you like it?
That is also an amazing movie. I do plan on going to see that in the theaters a couple more times, actually. And it actually broke the record, too. Best-selling Thanksgiving movie of all time. Last I checked, it was sitting at 738 million, so that's fucking ridiculous. And the songs in it are just, that's what Frozen's known for. Yes, it's princesses and, there's a snowman and there's a reindeer, but
I personally feel like
music.
the soundtrack is weaker than the first movie.
It is a little bit weaker because Let It Go was
So good.
it played for many months.
And there's some
Months. It's
Years.
still
It's still
playing.
going.
There's some great songs in Frozen 2, but there's a couple that I'm like, this isn't good.
There was one in particular. I think I said it. It took me out of the movie so badly, and that was the '80s ballad from Christoph.
No, that's the one I'm complaining about.
Yeah,
I
that
hate
one
it.
was so awkward. I don't know. Yeah, but there was some other things that they did. A lot of people are saying this too, but I also agree with them. This is one of the I won't say very first, but it's very few Disney movies have done this where Christoph, first of all, he says his love isn't fragile, which is not a thing masculine men say in Disney movies. They say, I'm here to help. And that was the other thing. When he showed up, he didn't say, move out of the way, I'll take care of the problem. He showed up and was like, what do you need? I will help you. He's letting her do whatever she has to do, but he's like, I'm here to help. Not, I'm here to, take care of the monster, get out of the way. I thought it was really cool.
He doesn't have magical powers.
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't have magical powers. And then on top of that, it turned into Avatar: The Last Airbender for a little bit. So that was awesome.
Solid.
Spoilers if you guys haven't seen it, but if you guys haven't seen it, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. So you'll make the connection when you see it. Good movie. Probably better than For the Love of a Glove.
I think you're really underselling how good For the Love of a Glove could really be.
Okay, so now we're not much for rumors on the show. We try not to talk rumors. But there's ones that we will bring up if they're at least interesting to talk about.
Okay, guys at home. Comment in below. Complain. This just needs to be a recurring segment because he's always got I don't like rumors, but I'm about to tell you something that's completely rumor. And because it's Disney, probably wrong.
You're probably wrong. But I just felt it'd be fun to talk about this rumor.
Sure, yeah.
Doctor Doom might be the villain for Black Panther 2.
I have so many issues with that.
You're like, problems.
But fine.
So people were the guy that is supposedly, allegedly said what every title of every movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Is the one that leaked this. So it could be true. It couldn't. It's also probably a rumor. But they're saying that Doctor Doom is going to start taking over places in Africa and then come across the Wakandans, and that starts the fight there.
Sure.
Okay.
That's not what he's about.
I know.
At all.
I really hope that is a rumor. I still want Doctor Doom as our big bad for the next 10, 15 movies, but not like this.
I think he should be, but I do think it's interesting to have the head of a nation state that's a villain be the opponent to the head of a nation state that's a hero. So it's kind of interesting because there you have ruler versus ruler and all of those different issues of like if the Avengers go into Latveria, then it's an international incident. Then you probably have war against not just Latveria, but any of Latveria's allies, which is presumably China, Russia, North Vietnam. Those are probably Latverian allies, right? So presumably the reason why the heroes would never just invade Latveria is because it would be an international incident and it would actually provoke World War III or something.
The Black Widow trailer, maybe not spoke about it that much, but there's a lot to do with the Accords too. And I mean that
the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, the Sokovia Accords still might have something to play into if this were true with the Black Panther 2 thing.
Yeah, because it's post Civil War, so yeah, that kind of makes sense. I don't know. Doom has shown that he can rule a perfect nation as long as Reed Richards is not around. I'm just saying. We've kind of figured it out.
We've also talked about this too, where Reed Richards is actually the bad guy. So
he is the bad guy.
Yeah,
he screws up all the plans.
Yeah. I know, Rich, you're probably excited about this one. So we've talked about Color Out of Space before. We've talked about a lot of stuff this episode before. But this is good news. So Color Out of Space actually might reportedly be the first of 3 in a trilogy of Lovecraft movies.
So there's also a Call of Cthulhu movie coming out in 2020. And I really think that H.P. Lovecraft, I think that it's going to be the new zombies. So we're going to see just a rush of H.P. Lovecraft things. And so I'm very intentionally, my Lovecraftian sci-fi series, I'm trying my best to get the pilot episode live before the release date of Color Out of Space, so I can say that mine was at the front because, I want to be the first Lovecraftian film series thing out in 2020 before the wave of Cthulhu movies.
How do you feel about that, though? Because I know you're a Cthulhu fan.
I'm a super huge fan. I don't understand why. I mean, The Color Out of Space has no connection to anything else in Lovecraft, but let's have the same investigators. Let's have them kind of like explore different stories. I think it could be fun.
I think there's been a lot of already, maybe not as far as literally branding it as this is Lovecraftian universe and whatnot. Where there's already been a lot of it. In fact, I mentioned to him Annihilation, which came out in 2018, is basically Color Out of Space. And it borrowed so many elements from that.
Yeah.
And then the latest movie that dropped, The Lighthouse, that had a Lovecraftian thing about it.
I still need to see
it. Definitely felt Lovecraftian.
Oh, at the end, it definitely did.
But I think... obviously, everything episodic is H.P. Lovecraft. Anything Stephen King is almost assuredly Lovecraft because he based it. He's admitted and he's literally used Nyarlathotep in The Stand, so we know there's a direct, real connection. Not characters referencing the stories of H.P. Lovecraft, but literally referencing the being of Nyarlathotep. So we know that. The Stephen King universe, which is all shared, or most of the stories are shared in the same like metaverse. Those are directly in the same universe as H.P. Lovecraft. There has been a wave of direct Lovecraft movies like Dagon, The Reanimator, all those things. But I just think there's a new wave. And I do think there's going to be a lot of things like The Lighthouse, which aren't a direct reference, Annihilation, which is not a direct reference. But The Color Out of Space is literally one of the stories. My series is literally based off of the I keep thinking Innsmouth. Oh my gosh, it's my series. I should. No, I totally it's too much rum.
Yeah, too much rum. Can't just blame on that.
But yeah, I think we'll have a lot of Lovecraft stuff because it's totally out of copyright, so you can just use it.
Yeah,
and you don't have to say, well, The Lighthouse could have been directly affiliated, but we didn't want to use things because we didn't want to get sued. You can't be sued. It's totally out of copyright, so you can just use all the names and titles and everything.
So here's what I'm hoping for.
It's like Little Mermaid, or Jungle Book.
Yeah, you can use them now. Here's what I'm hoping for. So when I first met you, I didn't know shit about Cthulhu other than I think how to pronounce the name. Maybe I didn't know what it was.
Dunwich, by the way.
There you go, Dunwich.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it, but ever since I've been friends with you, I started researching Cthulhu stuff more in Lovecraft nature and all that stuff. And all I'm hoping for is if I can get one movie experience to give me the same experience I have playing the Lovecraft board games.
Yeah.
Because in those board games, you're like, there's no way out. And in those games, it's not like, okay, here's the way out. It's like, no, you died. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no resetting. There's no going back. You just died. And I don't know. We played damn it, what's the game we just played?
Cthulhu Death May Die.
Yeah. And we were literally, I think, one or two turns away from everybody dying. And the only person that died was my girlfriend.
The only one who died before the credits rolled.
Yeah.
But we know what happened right after success.
Yep.
We were all wiped out.
Yep.
It was a bad scenario. And that's how I want most of those movies and stuff to end. You're like, yay, the heroes won. But now as it's fading to black, you're like, wait a minute. How are these people going to get out of this dungeon or whatever? Like, there's all these monsters. They're dead. Yep. Save the world. The world won't care, but it'll still be around.
Yeah.
And you can still have a second movie.
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about that too, Cthulhu Death May Die is definitely a super fun game and everybody should buy it.
Yeah. That was a super good game.
I really liked it. I still don't think I liked it as much as a couple of the original ones we played, which I think
Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mansions of Madness is super fun. Any game that has an app that correlates with it is almost always fun.
Yeah, I agree. The thing is that if you want a very combat-heavy game where you directly get to interact with the eldritch beings, then Cthulhu Death May Die is perfect for that. If you want a much more investigator, we're not going to know what's going on. And at the end, we still might not know what's going on. Mansions of Madness is a great experience. So,
would you consider, I mean, we've discussed it before, Betrayal at the House on the Hill, the legacy game. Would you consider that Cthulhu type? I felt like there were elements.
Well, I mean, I keep wanting you on my board game channel. So by all means, we could have this conversation on my board game YouTube channel. But the big thing with House on the Hill or Betrayal at the House on the Hill is that they have taken every horror movie since the 80s and consolidated them down to tropes. And so there is literally a Cthulhu episode. When you're playing the board game, it's random which episode you get. So sometimes you might get the Wolfman.
Yep.
One time we got Doctor Who. That was great.
That was a fun one.
And there's quite a few Lovecraftian ones, but they're not all Lovecraft. Some of them are Dracula, and some of them are The Mummy, and some of them,
the legacy game. Without trying to spoil too much, if you guys plan on playing it, just skip ahead literally 30 seconds. That was based off the Norse mythology, right? The final being Norse,
our storyline, and I don't know all the storylines, but our storyline was based off of the Norse mythology, very specifically. I think Balder. I think Balder is missing his hand, so I think that's the.
Well, it was not Fafnir. Was it Fafnir? It was the werewolf.
Fenrir.
Fenrir. Thank you.
Fenrir.
Fenrir.
Yeah, Fenrir was the villain, and your ally is Baldur.
Yep.
Yeah. Who Baldur puts his hand in Fenrir's mouth, and
Does it open a gate?
Tyr. Sorry.
Damn. I was gonna hope you say
Baldur.
it opens a gate. Baldur's Gate. Yeah, connection to video games. Okay. But yeah, Lovecraft is awesome. I think Rich and I could talk about it for another few hours. So we won't. And we'll go on to the last news bulletin that we have before we. Oh crap! Sorry, I hit the button on my phone. Now I know I told you that the last one was the weirdest thing that I read with For the Love of a Glove. This one I think is right behind it.
It's not that weird.
Oh, okay. Hasbro, the toy company that produces toys.
The owners of Pokemon, the card game.
Yes.
And the owners of Dungeons and Dragons, the board game.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have
Hasbro.
acquired Death Row Records. The guys that, Tupac performed.
Dr. Dre, I choose you.
Rappers got to collect them all.
There's a lot to collect.
It's just going to be called Kicks, and then that's all it's going to be.
I feel like that's...
Suddenly I'm actually interested. That's a good name.
I feel like this is probably the most awkward acquisition I've read about in the last several years. I don't know what they plan on doing with it, if they plan on doing anything with it, or they just wanted the label just to have money. I don't know what they're...
Yeah, I don't know if Hasbro has a very large media arm. I don't think so. Like outside of their game, I mean, they dominate toys and board games and role-playing games. I mean, they're a pretty big influence in that space. I don't know if this is normal for them or not. Maybe they have made some really, really horrible movies for Dungeons and Dragons. Really horrible, some of the worst. But I don't know anything about them in music.
So I have a couple of things that you just reminded me of too. So first of all, this could mean that we can get the Tupac Magic the Gathering card. So that's awesome. A second, you just reminded me that apparently the Ohio State Michigan rivalry can go all the way down into Lego. Okay, so that was a really bad correlation because it has nothing to do with it. But that same type of rivalry goes all the way down into Lego, because Lego movies are killing it right now because there's a lot of good Lego movies. But apparently Playmobil is making a movie which is just like Legos. Playmobil is like the kid version of Legos, the less sharper ones that don't hurt when you step on them. And their main actor is Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay. I was so uninterested until you said that.
It's so weird. And when I was watching the trailer for it, because I think we saw the trailer for it at Frozen 2, I was like, this movie looks so interesting, and I don't know what it's about. And then they said Playmobil, and I was like, what?
I mean, I just think Daniel Radcliffe is such an interesting actor.
Yeah. I'm going to do Harry Potter, and now I'm going to do Swiss Army Man.
If you tell me Ron is doing something, I don't care. Daniel Radcliffe is amazing.
And he has done stuff. He's done stuff with Nick Frost. It was a really good show.
Sure.
Yeah, Adam.
I think so. I read a little bit more into that story.
The Hasbro one?
Yeah, because now I remember. And
Okay, hold it there for just a second. I just wanted to point out that this did not just break. It's something I want to talk about. This is a couple months old.
Right.
Is it? I only heard about it a couple of days ago. So, okay.
So the company that owns Death Row Records, Entertainment One, and Entertainment One is known for Peppa the Pig. That's like their biggest product that they have out right now.
I don't know what that is.
So Peppa the Pig is like this kids' TV show where the pig's face basically looks like a penis.
And Peppa the Pig herself is racist as fuck, by the way.
Incredibly racist. But
I'll show you the YouTube video afterwards.
So apparently Hasbro acquired Entertainment One, which acquired back in like 2006 Death Row Records.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's like this super misleading title. I'm like, wait a minute. Because like I'm thinking about this, I'm like, there's no way that they could just acquire Death Row Records and then like nothing comes of it.
Yeah.
No memes come out of it or
Yeah.
whatnot. No. It makes a little bit more sense to me now.
I had to get the video of Peppa. If you guys know what I'm looking up, because Rich hasn't seen it, the Peppa the Pig whistle episode, the little 1 minute clip. That was fucking brutal. Actually, I might, if we go back, I might put that as the secret.
There we go, guys.
All right, so now we made it to the end of the show.
This is not the end of the show. This is our halfway point.
Halfway point. So yeah, we made it to the end of the news. Sorry, we made it to the end of the news.
People are already hitting stop.
Yeah,
like,
okay,
no.
bye. Wait. So we're gonna do the top 5 movies. So what I figured we'd do is I'll say my
Top 5 movies of the 90s, right?
of the 90s, specifically the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Not of all time. I wouldn't be able to make that list.
No,
So
that's impossible.
it'd be Scott Pilgrim, Scott Pilgrim, Scott Pilgrim.
So 1, 2, 3.
He gets mad.
Phantom Menace.
I thought you said best movies. Okay. No, so it's the top 5 movies of our personal opinion, not like, recorded, but our personal opinion of the 90s versus what Rotten Tomatoes, that article I read, said is their top 5. And I figured we'd just go, I'll go with my 5th. We'll go to yours, your 5th, and then your 5th. And then
Are you going to give like a brief explanation of why?
Yeah, but I feel like, brief explanation
Of like why it's your number 5.
Oh, yeah,
why
yeah.
it's saying you're number 5.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And I only know at least one of these movies is on your list because I blinked and I saw it. So I apologize. I apologize. I saw it. I didn't mean to.
Okay.
But I had this list done earlier today. So
All right.
my 5th of top 5. So the 5th one on there was Princess Mononoke. I specifically picked Princess Mononoke. It did come out in the 90s, obviously. It was
1999 to be exact.
It's one of the bigger. I won't say biggest because I still think there's argument about which Miyazaki movie was the best. Because I think Spirited Away still might take it. It depends.
Yeah, but I don't think Spirited Away is nearly as good.
Yeah. But Princess Mononoke was, I think, the big one that got everybody interested in Miyazaki movies. And then they went back and they were like, this guy's done a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And then we just got a bunch of Miyazaki movies after that. And I just like I'm not just picking it out of bias because it's my girlfriend's favorite Miyazaki movie. Because my favorite Miyazaki movie
sounds biased.
My favorite Miyazaki movie is Howl's Moving Castle, but that's
an excellent movie.
Yeah.
It's my number 5 movie as well.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I knew it was your number 5. But yeah, I think it brought animation, that type of animation, into the mainstream. And I won't say it would be the one that did it, but it blew it up. It helped push it forward into what we have now.
I agree.
And then you got stuff like Ponyo, which I fell asleep during. So I don't know what happened there. Ponyo was like Japanese Little Mermaid, but not as interesting. I don't know. But yeah, that was my 5th one, and actually Rich's 5th.
Yep.
So we might just have a short list because I think we might have something that we shared. Dave, what was your 5th?
Dumb and Dumber, 1994, Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels. Dumb and Dumber is exactly the kind of magic that brought both Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey at that point was really starting to be really turned into his own. Ace Ventura would come out soon. The Mask came out just before. But Dumb and Dumber is so beloved because it's so stupid but smart at the same time. Because there's so much with it that you're just like, these guys can't be that dumb. And then you see how the movie kind of plays itself out. It brings a lot of energy. It's a kind of a go-to for me that I continue to watch even to this day.
I'm afraid to ask, but what are your thoughts on Dumb and Dumber?
Oh. I thought you were going to say Dumb and Dumber 2. I was like, Dumb and Dumber 2 is fine. It's nowhere near as good, but it's fine. But Dumb and Dumber should not exist.
That's just dumb.
I don't know who the director is, but I hope you got shot.
Okay, so Rich, Princess Mononoke was your 5th as well, but why?
And Princess Mononoke, I think at the time, it was the first time I had seen an anime that was legitimately good, ignoring the fact that it was an anime. So I watched a lot of anime at the time back then. So that was Ninja Scroll, that was Ghost in the Shell. Like I watched a lot of Tenchi Muyo.
The Fabi anime, that's what I call it. The old style anime.
But none of the, like I wouldn't at that time have ever said, "Hey, you're a geek. You should watch anime."
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I would be like, you know, what kind of things do you like? And maybe you should watch it. But I feel like Princess Mononoke is a world-class film that is good, even for, or maybe even more especially for people who don't like anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good break-in film. And then when you get to that, you can watch Howl's Moving Castle and then say that one's your favorite like I did.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 was Independence Day. I'm just a huge fucking Will Smith fan. And so I think I've seen every movie he's ever made except for one. And the only reason was I was planning on watching it and someone spoiled it for me. So now I have no interest in watching it. That was 7 pounds.
Oh, it's still a good movie, though. You should check it out.
I know I still need to watch it. But the person that spoiled it literally told me the ending. Oh, he does this. And I'm like, thanks. I didn't want to know that. But it did give us some of the best lines. Welcome to Earth. And some others. And it was just a really good alien movie. We had Alien and Aliens and stuff like that, before that. But this one, took the cake at that time with, I don't even want to say graphics, like, when the White House explodes. Like, that's an amazing scene and how they did it. And then when you see how they did it, it was like a little toy, like model-ish. It's just awesome. Mm-hmm. I love Independence Day.
I remember the toys that came out with it, and it's funny. It's funny they mentioned that because on our show, and I'm just going to bump it real quick, we had a whole month where we did the 90th movies of all time. And that actually that was like the first movie that we actually did, because it's so 90s. It's cheesy. There's like, they went big with it, as big as they possibly could, but sometimes the story really did not make sense.
And you had Jeff Goldblum in it too, so
and Goldblum's in it, which is a
the
very
90th of the
choice,
90s.
I mean, they literally wrote. Think about the story. They wrote a story about an MIT engineer that comes in that figures out a alien signal through Windows 95, which is already so many problems there.
Who at the time was currently a cable guy, right? Or was he doing something?
He was a cable guy in New York City. And then you had he had connections to the White House, of course. And then you had Captain Stephen Miller, who is a pilot.
I thought it was a Mac. Was it Windows 95?
No, I'm pretty sure it was 95 at the time.
I could have swore that.
I could be wrong.
The laptop was an Apple.
But even then, that's 1990s.
Oh, Apple. Absolutely. I'm just saying.
That explains a lot then. If it was an Apple, that's why they couldn't get everything out in time, because...
But then you had Captain Stephen Miller, who is a Marine pilot.
Who wants to be an astronaut.
Whose longtime girlfriend is an exotic dancer. And Bill Pullman is president.
Oh, by the way, Bill Pullman.
That's all you need to know.
I forget what his name was, but the guy that played the doctor who got brainwashed or taken over.
No, he's totally lived in the second one.
Yeah. Okay.
Stupid. I don't know how. Still looks the same.
So it's funny because from my list of movies, and I think from the Rotten Tomatoes list, none of them actually had sequels, and none of them could get sequels except for 1 or 2. And Independence Day got a sequel, and it wasn't good.
No,
and
it was awful.
Yeah,
Emmerich, I think it was Emmerich who made it. He literally said, "The minute I knew Will Smith was not down to do it, I should have canceled all plans."
Yep. All right, so Dave, what was your number 4?
It's going to be Goodfellas.
All right,
1990. In my opinion, probably the best Scorsese film. I know a lot of people say Taxi Driver, but Taxi Driver is not enjoyable. Like, Taxi Driver is one of those movies you watch once and then you shower, and then you say, "Wow, that was so good." Don't know if I ever. It's like watching Joker, over and over again. It's like after a while, the FBI is just kind of tapping your PlayStation that you're watching it on, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on, man?"
I will use the phrase I used to describe my entire military career for that. It's the most fun you never want to have again.
Exactly, like absolutely. At the end of the day, Ray Liotta's Henry Hill, it's kind of a love story. It's a love story, mob story. It just so happens that that's the life that he's in.
Yeah.
Plus, it had the shortest ever Oscar acceptance speech by Joe Pesci. which was 6 words. He literally said, "It was my pleasure, thank you," and then walked off stage because he did not like the Academy at the time. And so yeah, and you could tell how popular it is now because there's been a lot of hype about The Irishman, which literally just dropped, and some people really like it. Some people are like, "Man, I really wish this was back into Goodfellas Casino days."
Don't watch it on your phone if you don't want to upset the director.
Yeah. Don't watch Marvel movies if you don't want to upset the director either. Or I'm sorry, not Marvel, but superhero movies.
Well, that he doesn't want you to watch them anywhere.
Yeah.
But The Irishman, please do not watch on your phone. Watch it on an iPad. He says he's like, watch it on maybe an iPad, a big one. I love that.
That's funny.
He's so old.
But yeah,
when he says that, you're like, okay, boomer.
Exactly. Mine was Strange Days.
I don't even think I know that one.
So Strange Days is a movie in 1995 about the end of the millennium, so 1999. And there's this energy in the movie. So the movie is about these people wearing squids that the squids record your memories and then other people can play back those memories. And so this is like it's almost like a VR experience, and people get addicted to living as other people. But squids while you die is illegal. So it's like there's like a black market thing of being able to experience somebody else dying. And it's pretty dark. There's like racial tension and rape and all this stuff. But the thing is, like, around the time I watched this movie over and over and over again, and then the FBI tapped on my window and they said, but this movie has this energy about it, and it's so dark and kind of deep. And at the time, it was the beginning of the the big press related trials. So this was like the riots of Rodney King, which went on for days. This was the Loretta Bobbitt trial. This is when trials became Hollywood, effectively. And that's what kind of inspired this energy and this tension. In 1995, I was just my senior year of high school. So, it seemed like edgy and, I don't know, totally like appealed to my high school, probably like emotional self.
I'm curious. I kind of want to go watch it now just to see if I can find a place to actually watch it.
Yeah.
Amazon, maybe.
Yeah, I think you can watch it on Amazon.
All right, my number 3. If I didn't have a Robin Williams movie on my top 90s list, I would have to shoot myself. Mrs. Doubtfire, one of the, I want to say all-time favorite comedies from Robin Williams, minus Aladdin, but I don't know if you count that one really.
Absolutely.
He was funny in that one. It was a comedy. But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire was hilarious. And it was the first time, I think, on screen that I can think of where I guess cross-dressing was played out so well because he did it so well that they didn't even know it was a guy. And it was
that before Big Mama's House?
Yes, Big Mama's House came out in 2000.
Oh, okay, yeah, great.
Robin Williams.
So yeah, it was probably the first. I mean, definitely not the first cross-dressing because in the 70s they had a bunch of sitcoms and stuff. But first makeup female cross-dressing thing, I think.
But it wasn't the best. The best one is Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything.
Okay.
Because we got Swayze and somehow Wesley Snipes.
And Leguizamo.
And Dragon. It was absolutely amazing and horrible, but amazing at the same time.
I walked in on my girlfriend watching the last half of that, and I sat down and I was like, I'm not going to sit here and watch this shit. And then I watched the rest of the movie, and I was like, okay.
It's pretty good.
It's not that bad. But yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire is hilarious. And I think there's so many scenes in there that everybody just remembers. I've seen a couple Halloween costumes where someone went as just pie face. Like they just put whipped cream in their face and they just kept walking around going, hello. It was great. What was your number 3?
So this is where I really started to struggle because I could always go with the box office hits, or I could go with some that I consider a little bit more personal for me. So I went the personal route. Okay. So number 3 is Dark City.
Oh man, that's so good. And the soundtrack,
excellent.
It's so good.
Connolly never looked better.
I'm actually in the dark. I have never seen or heard of this movie.
So Dark City kind of takes place. I mean, it does take place in an alternate universe. A guy just wakes up and all he has is like blood covered all over him. And these guys kind of come in and they're like, they almost kind of look like your traditional Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, exactly, yeah.
But they're not. They kind of have something about them. The entire
wait, okay, don't give the spoiler.
No,
okay.
They're the entire point of the movie is based upon a theory called Last Thursday-ism, which is if you honestly, truly thought about all the events that you did last Thursday, you could not remember anything before that because the universe did not exist.
Ah.
That is what the theory is based upon. Now I'm going to let you watch the movie.
Okay. I'm actually interested in watching it, yeah.
It's dark, I will tell you that, obviously, because it is called Dark City, and for a reason it is. But it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I'm not going to change my number, but if you had asked me in 2000 what my favorite movies, it would probably have included Dark City.
So is Dark City your 3.5?
Yeah, exactly.
Put it up in there.
I know there's a lot of, like you said, top 5, and I was like, that's really hard because like does Fight Club get in there? Anyways.
So I also went personal route. Movies that, again, even Strange Days, definitely not a box office success. Just a movie I personally really like. And for my number 3, Starship Troopers.
Yes! Yes!
Starship Troopers is good. It is very, very good.
It's the ultimate propaganda movie.
It is.
And
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, exactly. It was Neil Patrick Harris before he was cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After Doogie Howser, but before. Does anyone even remember Doogie Howser? Jesus Christ. Did I just date myself?
You said it at the opening of the Tonys back in 2006.
Yeah.
That movie is like now, even like it was so predictive of Fox News. It was so predictive of the internet and like, click to learn more kind of things. But this was before, like, this was like BBS's. The internet was barely a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It was so predictive of the right. I mean, obviously the movie didn't, but I mean, you could say that the movie did because it's only loosely based off the book. Actually, you'd say it did a bad job compared to the book. But
is this one of those rare cases where the movie might have actually been better than the book?
I think in hindsight, the movie is probably better than the book. But at the time, it wasn't better than the book. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. But
yeah.
But yeah, I kind of agree with you on that.
Just from the view of now,
the imagery, especially with it,
I feel
does
like
a really good job.
If you took Starship Troopers and you took Idiocracy, and you made someone watch them in the 1990s and said, "This is what 2019 is going to be like," they'd be like, "You're stupid," and then, nope, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah.
So the last 2 I picked, I'm just one by one. I looked up a list of movies that came out in the 90s. I think we all did.
Yeah.
And I didn't
most of mine aren't even on the list anywhere, so I disagree with them. But whatever.
I picked these other 2 because it's not only was it like, ones that just stood out to me when I was looking through this list of movies, but these ones I have, how I am a habitual watcher of the same movie.
Yeah.
And
much to my
coincidentally, this movie is supposed to be habitually watched, I guess. But these 2 I have watched well over 20, 30 times.
Okay.
And my number 2 was Groundhog Day.
Very solid.
Very solid. I mean, to me, that's the foundation of movies and series like Dollhouse, obviously, right? Like,
yep.
It's there's been great episodes in Supernatural. There's been great episodes all over the place.
Russian Doll's kind of like that too.
That's
right?
what I mean. No, I didn't say. I said Dollhouse, but I meant Russian Doll. Yeah, sorry. Dollhouse is entirely something different.
And I truly believe that they could release a sequel to this movie and just release the same one, and everybody would still be happy with it. I literally just re-release the same movie.
I think there was a screenplay or something for a second, and Bill Murray doesn't do sequels like that.
Yeah,
I guess, so.
We actually talked about it before a long time ago that the actual canonical sequel to Groundhog's Day is the video game, the VR video game.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. But When I told my coworkers at work that I was making this list of movies that I told one of them, I was like, A Groundhog Day is my number 2. And she was like, oh, I could just watch that movie over and over and over again. And I was like, I got it. I heard another coworker who'd never seen it before. And I was like, what are you doing? It's Groundhog Day. Watch it.
So good.
But yeah, that was
such a good decade for Bill Murray.
Other than Ghostbusters, maybe, I think that was Bill Murray at his best.
You didn't like... Oops. You didn't like Scrooged?
Damn, I forgot about Scrooge.
I like Scrooge.
I like Scrooge a lot too.
Yeah.
I still might put Groundhog Day above Scrooge, but Scrooge was...
I think Bill Murray... Well, if we're going to say Bill Murray is about Stripes for me.
Stripes is pretty good.
Stripes is a personal movie for me.
Yeah.
My father...
That was 80s though, right?
Yeah, it was 1980s.
Yeah.
So it was like when Ramis and him first really started. They had like one of the best like gay jokes I've ever heard in that movie. I don't know.
I have to go back and watch it now. It's been a long time since I've seen Stripes.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, what was your number 2?
This is incredibly difficult because this is my childhood that we're talking about here. And my number 2 is Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
The best of the Terminators. In my opinion.
That was on my list.
The first one is just might take it for me at this point.
So,
I really love the second one. I really do.
So I told you that the girlfriend and I have the I guess you could call it a wall scroll. We had the 100 movie bucket list that we scratch off, and Terminator was on there. We're like, oh yeah, let's watch this. It's been a long time since we watched it. We both got through the movie and was like, what the fuck did we watch?
So good.
We didn't like it at all. Both of us. We were like,
really?
We were shocked because
Terminator
I was like,
1.
Yeah, to the first Terminator. I was like, I remember loving Terminator when I was younger. What happened? I don't know why I don't like this movie. And then I remembered all the parts I like about Terminator, and I realized all the parts I liked about Terminator were Terminator 2.
Right.
And not Terminator.
It's tough for me to...
So wait, what's on your second movie? Is it Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Because Terminator 1 was 1980s, right?
Yeah. Terminator 1's 1980s.
Okay.
And I actually like Terminator 1 better than I like Terminator 2. And the reason why is because Terminator 1 was personal. Like, it was such a personal story. It was like, if you take everything out of context, this is a lady who in the last 18 hours had to grow up real quick because she's about to get killed by this impressive behemoth of a man. And they couldn't have picked a better actor in my eyes than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't think there was
imposing.
I don't think there's literally anybody bigger than him at the time, physically bigger than him as an actor.
He was Mr. Universe. I mean, he was literally he
was Mr. Olympia. He
in
held
the
the
late
world record
70s.
for a long time.
Yeah, so I don't know if at that time he was the biggest person, but there would not be many humans on the planet in that condition as big as him around that time.
And that's why it was so impressive. It was anyway. So let me talk about T2 because I'm giving way too much love to T1. T2 is what made action movies that much better. Everything that you've ever loved about 80s action movies, which I love a lot about them, T2 took everything bigger and better. And when you think the movie actually ends, obviously for those who haven't seen it, is when T-1000 gets frozen over. You're like, okay, he's frozen, he's dead, he's gone, that's it.
Yep.
And then he just kept coming back, and you're like, well, how do you beat this guy? Like you're throwing the impossible question out there now. It was Cameron at his best in my eyes.
I really feel like that was the start of what has become Michael Bay movies in terms of spectacle.
Yep.
I mean, and you can complain about it. You can say it's bad, but that was the start of the mega big action movies. Mm-hmm. Like, I just feel like because the special effects and it wasn't just. I mean, Terminator 1 is considered a B movie by most people. It was just not a top tier in terms of quality. That movie, everything is great. It really is just a great movie. Probably one of the best action movies.
We're talking, what was that, early 90s?
That was literally 1991.
Yeah. The early 90s, and with the special effects that they had in there, that was impressive for the time. Ridiculously impressive.
There was a 7-year gap between Terminator and Terminator 2. So everybody's asking for a sequel. Just wait. It's okay. They show that a sequel can truly be just as good, if not better, than the first one. It's like...
Have you seen T3?
Yes.
Dark Fate?
I've seen them all. Yes.
Okay. So we've actually talked about it. I think we talked about it last week, either last week or the week before, about that the movie bombed, but did it bomb because it was a bad movie? And I mean, I personally haven't seen it yet, but everybody I've talked to that has seen Dark Fate has been like, it was a good movie. I don't know why it didn't.
Right, Dark Fate is the official sequel to
the official canon.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The other ones are basically.
So what do you think?
What
What
ifs?
I really like Dark Fate. I think Dark Fate can do one of two things for you. It can either end the trilogy and be a fine Return of the Jedi like trilogy, and what I mean by that is that like it's over, it's done. There's no such thing as prequels or episode 7, 8, or 9. I'm a Star Wars fan. Or it could serve as the potential sequel, but it did the one thing that I love, and mind you, I'm just going to spoil the ending for you,
That's
but it's
fine.
really the last line. They did not actually set up to where they say, "Oh, the war, this battle is over, but the war is still raging on and continuing on." Instead, they were just like, "It's over, maybe," and then that was like it. It's like, okay, so if it goes out this way, I'm cool with it going out this way. If it doesn't go out this way, then whatever. I'm also a fan of Salvation, but Salvation has a lot of logic issues. I understand. But Salvation had the alternate ending to Salvation would have really been legendary in my eyes. Do you guys remember Salvation?
I never watched Salvation.
No.
Okay, so spoiler.
Go ahead.
Basically, at the end of Salvation, you have Sam Worthington, and he is a Terminator. He was literally sent back for some odd reason. You get the idea. But what happens is that John Connor actually dies in the film, like legitimately dies, heart stopped and whatnot. The ending to it is that they replace the hearts of, because he still had like human parts and whatnot, of Sam Worthington into John Connor, because John Connor is the Resistance. He continues on and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay. The better ending in my eyes is John Connor dies, but they do a face transplant instead of John Connor onto Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington to that case, and the only people that know that's there. So the reason why the Resistance is better is because literally a Terminator led the Resistance into victory.
I like that.
Would have been better. Would have been better. But they didn't do it. That's okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of movies
Things
that
happen.
have alternate endings that would have been, yeah. What was your number 2, Rich?
So first I put Terminator 2 on my number 2, and I then decided that I was changing my list to be what I personally liked more.
Yep.
And I decided I personally liked The Matrix more. I like Matrix 2, Matrix 3, but I loved The Matrix, and I actually watched that in theater like 3 times.
Yep. And Rich is not a habitual movie watcher.
I do not like to watch movies more than once generally. But man, at the time, I played a role-playing game called Mage the Ascension, and I totally thought when I was watching the movie that this was inspired from Mage the Ascension. It's not at all. And it's like once you get more than halfway through the movie, like it's absolutely just not at all. But there is a faction in Mage the Ascension that kind of still feels like it kind of is. They have the Men in Black agents kind of people and stuff like that. Super cool. And I just remember at the time, I think like we're cynical now that we look back, but at the time, the whole world was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you got to watch this movie.
At the time, it had probably one of the most expensive and hardest special effects scenes to pull off ever. Yeah. And it's still one of the ones that people try and recreate and never really do very well at it.
The Wire action scenes where they tilt the camera all the way around it, kind of thing. That's the motto. They teach that in film schools and stuff. They're like, this is a way to do this kind of cool thing to really highlight what's going on and let you see this like 360 view. I think it's super cool.
Well, I guess I'll just continue on. Number 1 for me was The Matrix. That was my number 1 movie. I actually worked at a movie theater at the time when The Matrix came out, and I remember seeing that movie several times because it was free for me to go see it. And I remember going back and seeing it again and again and again. And then I remember when 2 and 3 came out, we actually had a Christian group come in, specifically on 3, Revolutions. And they did an entire analysis of is Neo Jesus? And it was interesting to see the correlations and everything that they made. Obviously, it's not the same thing. But
obviously, he's not Jesus.
Obviously, he's not Jesus. But it was cool. Like, in Matrix 3, it was I'm blind and now I can see because he got his eyes burned out.
I did a whole thing where I was like, is he Gilgamesh? Babylonian religion, long before guy dies for humanity, comes back.
Yep.
Oh, but no, people just watch the movie, enjoy it.
And on that, watching the first one, I think even today you can watch it and still enjoy it. And this is a movie that's over almost 20 years old now, right? Or probably over, actually.
It is over 20 years
It's
old.
over 20 years old now.
1999.
And you can still enjoy it. The computers might not be the same because we have slightly more advanced computers, but the idea is out. And actually, I still see theories and psychologists saying that are we living in a thing because of the Matrix? If
they were to film Matrix again, they wouldn't update the computers.
Yeah, just leave them.
Because the Matrix is a recreation of our world at a very specific time period that they think it's easy to manage humans.
Yep.
So they wouldn't want to give us VR and stuff like that where we would think too much about, is this real or not?
Yeah. I'm super excited, but also a little worried about Matrix 4 and what to expect out of that. So
I'm not excited.
There's no excitement.
But yeah, that was my number one movie of the 90s. I think I've seen that movie probably well over 20 times now. Now, it's no Scott Pilgrim level for me. You don't know me as well. I've seen Scott Pilgrim well over 120 times.
I'm about halfway.
I love that movie so much.
I love that movie also.
All right, so what do we have for your number one movie, Dave?
My number one movie is another Keanu Reeves film. But this one's going a little bit of the difference. It is Point Break.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say Point Break.
I was going to say Bill and Ted, but I don't think that's a 90s movie.
No, it is. Okay. Excellent Adventure was 88. Bogus Journey was 91.
Gotcha.
Point Break. Here's why I love Point Break. Because Point Break was the first introduction to bromance. It had everything. It had everything for the makings of a bad movie and a way too overcommitted actor. Because Swayze in that film overcommits to the role, and he is insane, and you are feeling it. You're like, yeah, Bodhi, like life is whatever, man. Like, let's rob banks and surf, like let's do that. It was a phenomenal piece of writing along with it. It was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who was the ex-wife of James Cameron at the time. And one thing that I absolutely love, there's obviously logic issues with it, but they had everything you can imagine with it. They had kind of the hot chick with Lori Petty. They had Keanu, who was not quite ready for that kind of a starring role yet. And you can tell by some of the lines that was out there. You had Bodhi, who was overcommitted. You had Gary Busey, before he went absolutely insane, become the most likable cop and the worst cop in existence. But he was amazing. I love this movie dearly. It really is the introduction to bromance because, you saw the chemistry between Lori Petty and Keanu, but there was way more chemistry between Keanu and Swayze at the time. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Do not watch the remake. Don't do that to yourself.
If you're going to watch anything that has a remake, I always suggest watching the first one first. Watch it first.
I agree.
And then if you want to watch the remake, do that and then judge it horribly because remakes are usually not done very well.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes the movies that we think are the iconic best ones are actually a remake of one from like the 60s or 70s. So,
of course,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's why I said usually.
Yeah.
Usually they're not good.
So my number one, and this is my favorite movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption.
Interesting.
I love this movie. Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins. It's actually another bromance movie. There's no females or very few females. There's a picture of a female. Plays an important role in the film. It's a Stephen King movie, which a lot of people don't know. And I think the best Stephen King movies are the movies where basically nobody talks about the fact that this is a Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
It was just so good. So it's just me. It's so serious, and there's like a little bit of comedy, but it's mostly like dry wit. And it's deep and it's intense, and it makes you feel for these characters and actors and stuff. So
Shawshank is actually on my bucket list to watch.
Oh my gosh.
The 100 movie bucket list. I still haven't seen it yet, but it is definitely on my list that I'm scratching off.
Fair enough.
And actually a coworker was like, if you have to talk about Shawshank and you've never seen it, you should be like, just go off the walls. Be like, yeah, it's my favorite vampire movie of all time. And just keep going until your co-hosts are like, you haven't seen it, have you? But no, I haven't seen it yet. Again, it is one of those movies.
It's Morgan Freeman.
I actually suggested watching it with my girlfriend several times now, but the only issue we have is that it's so long. And we try and get it in, we try and get a movie in a night, but when you come home from work, then you cook, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to watch a movie, and your movie's 3 hours long. You're like, geez, I don't know if I can do that.
I feel like it's got some intense emotional scenes, because it's like, it really helps you feel what life in prison can be like. Mm-hmm. Not all prisons are like this. I come from some people. Not all prisons are like that, but some prisons, especially in the South, could be like that. And there's some rough moments. I think that your girlfriend will. I think she'd cry. I think there's some times where she'd cry, and just the unfairness. I think you learn in the first 5 minutes that this person is put in prison, and he's innocent, and everybody says, well, everybody's innocent here. But that, is he innocent?
You're like, hold on, let me think.
Wait. Yeah, he's innocent. Yep.
That's an interesting segue. I mean, we're still going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes top 5, but we do have a plan on your podcast when we're going to go over to your podcast about another movie about someone who is imprisoned and is innocent, and there's superpowers in it too. So.
Yes, there is.
If you guys want to know what that is, go over to Dave's podcast I don't know when it's going to drop. I think a week and a half, 2 weeks.
So our podcast drops every Thursday.
Okay. So in next Thursday, not this coming one, but when the Game Awards come out, you can also listen to the podcast where we're going to be talking about a really long road that is a color. And I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but I should have gave it away pretty drastic.
It's a measurement that's a bit verdant.
It's a measurement that's a bit hulkish. Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about was Rotten Tomatoes top 5. And surprisingly, only one of the movies out of the 15 we've talked about, well, I guess 13 because we had some doubles, was on this list. So the 5th on Rotten Tomatoes was The Big Lebowski. And I fucking love that movie.
It is a great movie.
The Big Lebowski is great.
I do too.
Now that I'm older, I've tried to play a drinking game with it. It's drink a White Russian whenever he drinks a White Russian, and you can't make it through you're either going to throw up from the dairy or you're just going to get too drunk.
He made me love White Russians. Yes. I will say that.
I do drink White Russians now because of him.
I feel like that movie is what helped convince John Goodman to quit from Roseanne.
And be an actual
be an actor, but then he wasn't actually a very successful actor. I mean, he's a great actor. But
he is a great actor.
But he didn't get as many roles as I think he thought he was going to do. Like a lot of people leave TV shows and think, yeah, I've done it.
He's done a few, but you're right. Like after Roseanne, like it didn't take off.
Yeah,
it just kind of stayed steady.
I feel like too, if you're a fan of The Big Lebowski and you're trying to explain it to somebody else, it's probably one of the hardest movies to explain about what's going on, but also one of the easiest. Because you can literally just say it's about a dude in his rug, and that is the entire movie. I literally just told you the entire movie.
I'm kind of excited for the sequel to it.
I didn't know there was going to be a sequel to it.
It's totally about Jesus.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right. I did hear about that. Yeah, the Jesus the Bowler.
Yeah, and they got back Turturro for it.
That's awesome. The next one, number 4 on this list, is maybe slightly longer than Shawshank Redemption, but
3 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah, it was a really long ass movie. Titanic is number 4, and
it's 187 time use of Jack and Rose. Jack, Rose, 187 times.
You knew you had Chicago.
You should play a drinking game with that. Let's see how far you get.
I've seen that movie one time. That was enough. It was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
It's a movie I didn't want to see.
I feel like I had the same issue with it that everybody else did. I mean, the Titanic sank. We all know that. They're trying to put you in the perspective of a couple, and you're trying to live their life through them.
Sure. Yeah.
But the scene at the end, there was enough room on that damn
More than enough room.
that damn door, so where he didn't have to float in the water.
They could have had like a third child and then like half a midget,
And actually, I think Mythbusters did that too. They
did.
They did the door, and they were like, "Look how much room there is. Why the hell are you in the water?" So that was the only issue I had with the movie, but the movie is really good.
I like. I'm a big fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. He had a whole huge thing on it. Like somebody like brought it up to him that he was like, I'm not so upset about that. I'm upset that the fact that we knew the positions of the stars that was there that day, and all he did was carbon copy it. He goes, that's where I was upset about. And I was like, that's a good thing to be upset about.
Yeah, that's fair. No, but Titanic really was a good movie that had a lot of powerful scenes in there. And it really, that movie actually affected me in a way I never thought it would affect me.
When I was on a boat?
I was actually on a cruise. I've actually been on 2 cruises. Actually 3 cruises now that I think about it. I worked on 2 of them. Actually, one of the ones that I went to go work for Agilicis, that one took me to Cherbourg for a day, which is actually where Titanic left port for the first time. So it was really crazy to be like, whoa, this movie that I saw and this history, I'm here. Like it started here.
Now that's cool.
It was crazy.
I like that story.
Next up, number 3, it's a Disney movie. And I think it's one of the most popular Disney movies of all time, Lion King. And it's a movie that some people believe should not have been remade. I
agree.
Personally think it was all right. Maybe it shouldn't have been remade. It was all right.
I didn't watch it because I just prefer to pretend that a scene-for-scene remake of anything doesn't need to exist, and I don't need to watch it. I mean, I would have been totally happy with a Lion King re-envisioning.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. By all means, let's have fun with it. But it wasn't. It's a scene-for-scene remake.
It takes place in Wakanda, and sorry, that's Panther King, not Lion King. I mean, what's there to say about Lion King? It was a great movie. The soundtrack is amazing.
Super, Macbeth or Hamlet? I'm mixing those two up.
I
think it was Macbeth.
I think it was Macbeth. Yeah,
Macbeth. Yeah, because
it's very Macbethian.
Yep.
So nothing too crazy in terms of the storyline. The remake is horrible. The remake is horrible because there's no life there until Timon and Pumbaa.
Yep, that's fair.
I mean, come on, Scar in Lion King was gay Jeremy Irons. He was amazing.
And what I just really push back, because they say, well, okay, they wanted to make it realistic like animals, and that's why they don't have any like emotions and whatever. And I'm like, but the internet is literally filled with all kinds of real animals that are showing and they might all be like fake emotions because they're not humans and we just personify things. But if we can personify a real panther or a real ape or a real whatever, why couldn't they just take those same internet scenes that are like, 10 million views on YouTube?
You've seen scenes of dogs smiling. You know that they can smile.
I know they can smile.
So big cats can smile too. No.
They could have made it amazing.
They could have.
I still think a scene-for-scene remake doesn't need to exist.
I don't think it was as bad as some people say, but I also believe it didn't need to be remade.
I don't think there should have ever been Disney remakes in the first place. It's just a cash grab.
I'm trying to think of any of the ones. So I've seen Beauty and the Beast. I've seen Lion King. I think that's the only ones I've seen. Neither of them were necessary.
I'm kind of looking forward to Mulan, personally.
Mulan's interesting only because it's the drastic change.
Exactly, the drastic change and making it, because here's the thing. He's saying no remakes, but these are not Disney movies. These are Disney movies, but not Disney stories.
Yes.
These are stories that belong to the planet, right? Art that's out of copyright, whatever. This is stories that belong to the planet. And these are not the first envisionings of these stories, and they're not going to be the last. 500 years from now, they'll probably have another Little Mermaid or something. Might not be Disney. It's fine. I think it's totally legit. And that Mulan could be, I don't know if it is or not, nobody knows, but it could be just another of many envisionings of this Chinese story. And I'm okay with that.
Yep. I would be more interested, I think, in seeing like a dark Disney, that would never happen because Disney would never
Black.
go dark.
No, Disney Black.
But like them doing all these stories that they've done, Little Mermaid, Cinderella, Snow White, but doing them after stories, like scene for scene after stories they were made from, because none of the stories that they took the inspiration from ended nicely.
Well, they did not. Disney tried to do that, but they tried to see how if there was basically a market for it with the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah.
You know, they try to see, okay, how interested are people with it?
I think there's a lot of people interested. I just think Brothers Grimm didn't do it right.
it didn't do that well. To kind of piggyback off what you said, yeah, when it comes to the stories of the planet and getting those stories, yes, I 100% agree with you. Those stories will be retold. There's a great way to retell those stories. I don't believe in shot-for-shot remakes because I hate that idea because it's just a cash grab. I also don't. I would rather have. See, I think of like Cinderella, right? Is pretty classic. But they've done different versions of that story. A good example is Ever After. Yep. Ever After was actually a very good movie.
I enjoy it.
That kind of took a popular star. The best version of it though was Brandy and Whitney Houston's version of Cinderella, which had enough difference to it where and that's why I agree with it. But if it's going to be Disney shot for shot, or it's like Disney, but it's the same exact story, or it's like Disney, but it's the same exact story, but we just want to show you how terrible people are, which is exactly what Beauty and the Beast is. Yeah. Then no, I'm not interested.
What's worse about it is not only is it shot for shot remakes, but it's the same company. Like.
You know why I have a problem
Disney's shot-for-shot remakes.
You know my biggest problem with Beauty and the Beast, more than anything? It's the fact that they introduced this whole idea of them being able to travel to another location by going into this room, and that she had access to this room whenever. Why did you just go back immediately then? Why not just say, okay, we're in the asylum, Father, take my hand, we're back in the castle.
Okay, we're done. Story's over. That was easy. Okay, bye. Lion King... Killer Disney movie.
It was on my list too.
Yeah.
I had it. I couldn't agree, and I decided that it wasn't in my top 5. My little brother watched that movie every single day, multiple days. Like
I did that with Aladdin. Yeah. When I was growing up, it was Aladdin for me. I just loved Robin Williams. Number 2, Shawshank Redemption. So Rotten Tomatoes thinks Shawshank Redemption was the second best movie of the 90s. And I guess I'll find out why when I go watch it one of these days.
It is fantastic.
Yep. And number 1 was Pulp Fiction. I don't know how you feel about it, Rich, because I think we've talked about Tarantino before. I fucking love Tarantino movies.
I don't, but that's my favorite Tarantino movie.
That's fair. I think mine's Django.
I'm actually surprised. Now that I think about it, I'm surprised that nobody here put Pulp Fiction on their top 5.
Actually, the only one that I was considering, if I was going to go the blockbuster version instead of personal, Pulp Fiction likely would have taken number 5 for me. Number 3 would have been Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah.
Jurassic Park was another 2. That's, again, another Jeff Goldblum movie.
Right, exactly.
and he's not even the main star.
And here's the thing. Like when we start talking about Independence Day, and like I'm sitting there, and you're like, and Jeff Goldblum's in it, and I was like, man, I really want to put Jurassic Park on there now. But I was like, but Dark City, I can't.
You made the right call.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pulp Fiction is fantastic. It's
really is.
In a way the best Tarantino film. It's really what revived Samuel L. Jackson's and John Travolta's career.
Yeah. And they dealt with a lot of issues in that movie that other movies wouldn't go near at that time, I don't think.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm with you here. When it comes to Tarantino films, I really appreciate Tarantino. he is definitely not one of my favorite directors. like I'm kind of all over the place with him.
So I haven't seen. Oh God, what's the new one?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time. That's the only one I haven't seen. If I was going to make a list of Tarantino movies, very quickly, my absolute favorite is Django Unchained. That's actually
strange.
That's actually one of my most favorite movies of all time, not just of Tarantino.
Very strange.
It's right underneath Scott Pilgrim for me. I don't know what it is about Django, but
Leo does a fantastic job, and so does Waltz.
It's Christoph Waltz that does it for me.
Yeah.
And then the next one under that was Hateful Eight, actually.
I did not like Hateful Eight. Because Hateful Eight is basically, we're in a room and everybody is an awful person.
Yeah.
Root for one of them. No.
I mean,
okay, well, then sit there for 3 hours.
Wasn't that
Fine.
wasn't that Reservoir Dogs though? It's the same thing, right?
No, but Reservoir Dogs, Michael Madsen was pure evil. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you couldn't take his eyes off of him.
Yeah.
And this one, I was like, everybody is evil in this. I don't really care.
When I watched the big special edition Hateful Eight and the 70 millimeter film, whatever it was, the special film thing with the intermission and everything, and when we got to the very end of the movie, some guy behind me was like, "What? No sequel?" I was like, "Everybody's fucking dead." So yeah, that's the Rotten Tomatoes top 5. Pulp Fiction, that I'm thinking about it. It's still not my top 5, but I'm thinking about scenes from it. And my girlfriend hasn't seen it yet, so she has no idea what she's in for when she's watching this movie. She did see Reservoir Dogs, and she's like, I don't want to have to watch Pulp Fiction now. I'm like, they're two different movies. Completely different.
Especially because she's going to be lost throughout most of the movie because she's not going to know what scenes coincide with what.
Yeah. Tarantino does this very famous Tarantinoing around.
I think my favorite Tarantino is Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
That is a good one.
about that one.
I really, really enjoy that movie.
It wouldn't make any of my lists, but it's a good movie.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only one line from that movie that you ever need to remember, and that's killing Nazis.
And I want my scouts.
Okay, so that was our top 5 movies of the 90s and Rotten Tomatoes. If you guys disagree with us, let us know. But I also want to point out that we're always right. So you can say that you disagree with us. Just remember that we're always... I'm just kidding. People are going to be like, what the... And yeah, that's the end of the show. We appreciate you coming on, Dave.
Thank you so much. I really greatly appreciate you guys.
It was great. And we can't wait to do your show about
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
The Verde Mile. Yeah. Okay. That didn't give it away.
The about 2,500 meters, and Viridian is a good word to use here.
The Viridian 2,500 feet or 5280. It's 5,280.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
If that one didn't give it away, then I don't even know without actually just saying it. But yeah, that's the show, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much.